Hey, welcome to the very first podcast episode of the StriveX Podcast. I'm so excited that we have the opportunity to make this podcast. My name is Shaurya, one of the founders of StriveX Academy.
My name is Arjun Verma, also founder of StriveX Academy and The Humorous One, the site where you can learn all about the dangers of the internet and cybersecurity as a whole.
But before we get into the actual episode, let's give a quick intro on how this podcast works and what this episode is going to look like. First and foremost, we are truly thankful for everybody taking the time to listen to this podcast.
Now, without further ado, let's talk about the wonders of cybersecurity. So, as we all know, technology is moving at a rapid rate, so it is more important than ever for us to learn how to stay safe on the internet. Fortunately for us, some of us are very tech savvy, and we know how to stay safe on the internet with using things like ad blockers and something like Malwarebytes, where we can get rid of any viruses. Unfortunately for some of us, we do not know how to stay safe on the internet. We are very vulnerable to attacks and scams that might come our way. This is where StriveX is supposed to help you. StriveX is a place where you can learn all about the dangers of internet and cybersecurity as a whole. Cybersecurity has grown all throughout the years, with scams becoming less and less now than it was before. You have companies like Amazon, Tesla, and even companies like Malwarebytes or any other companies who are very cracking down on these scams and informing their users about these scams and not to fall for them. A lot of scams impersonate companies like Amazon, saying that they have made a charge on your account or a password has been changed and you have to call them up. And they will usually ask for your email and password, which is something that you should be very wary about because no company will ask you for your password. So companies like Amazon have made it harder for you to fall victim to the scam because they will notify the users immediately. And TeamViewer is a company where you can share your screen to other people. And now you fall victim to a scam and the scammer decides to use TeamViewer to connect to your computer, you will get a warning message saying that, oh, this call is coming from India. You should maybe not trust it and maybe double check that this is actually real, and no employee will ask you for your password. So that's why it's more important than ever to learn about the dangers of cybersecurity. And even though it's evolving, scammers are becoming smarter and more diligent with their scams, and they're learning how to essentially bypass all the warnings that they're given. And scamming is a billion-dollar industry, which is why it is more important than ever to look at our site and to really read on the types of content we have, just to make you more tech savvy at the end of the day and to help you not fall victim to any of these scams.
And that's the thing. See, ever since the internet has really been released, viruses have always been there. Okay, there are dozens and thousands of people who are actually very smart, and they have been developing these viruses ever since the era of technology. But the more that time goes on, though, the smarter these hackers get, it actually has become a lot easier because there are resources like StriveX who've actually been working to essentially remove these scammers and try to stop what their operations. And so what here at StriveX we're trying to do is, and especially even in this episode itself, try to talk about what is going on in cybersecurity today, because a lot of the general consumers and a lot of the regular citizens, they have a basic knowledge of cybersecurity, but they don't know what's really going on. They get a call from a random number and they're asking them, there's a charge on your account, your car insurance has run out, but nobody really understands the real malicious intentions that's going on behind the hackers. And so here at StriveX, we really want to try to expose what these hackers are doing, really go in depth of what their malicious intentions are and try to spread awareness, because the more people, I know it seems a lot more technical than it really is, but the more society learn about the way these scams operate, the more the people of society will actually understand how to tackle these scams. See, there are a lot of companies out there that are already working, huge billion-dollar companies. In fact, there's cybersecurity companies that are already working towards trying to prevent these scammers. But like Arjun just said, scamming is a billion-dollar industry. People all over the dark web, people from international countries, they're already consisting of these scams. They're trying to take advantage, and they're getting fairly smart at it too. I mean, you can see, you get a call, right? It's saying that your car insurance is running out. That seems like a fair scam. You try to stay away from that, especially when you already know your car insurance is definitely not running out. But these scams are getting very, very realistic. In fact, sometimes they're even impersonating a close contact of yours. And sometimes, even if you're very intelligent or very tech savvy, sometimes it gets to the point where you're not even able to distinguish that it's a scam. They create replicas of big company sites, and it's so realistic that you can't even tell the difference. So there's a couple things you can look at, but we're not going to discuss that all in this episode, because this episode is how cybersecurity has really enhanced over these last couple of years, which Arjun mainly covered all of the points as to how cybersecurity is changing over a period of time. The thing about cybersecurity is that it's a growing field. It's never going to stop, because though we are trying our best and we're trying to expose, which is our goal, to expose these hackers and to stop their operations, we will never be able to stop, because the more that we get smarter and try to stop them, the more they get smarter and they create more scams that are something that we can't really stop. So though we can never really stop these hackers, our goal at StriveX to at least spread awareness so that at least the regular citizens and the regular people of society are able to tell the difference between a real scam and actually something that's real. That way we're able to at least protect a lot of people, because you guys may not know, but people fall for thousands of dollars scams where they think that it's something that, something realistic going on. They pay hundreds of thousands of dollars and they figure out it's a scam too late and they lose all of that money. And that's something that, though it happens so often, people are not showing any awareness to. I mean, sure, it comes up every once in a while, but nobody really takes action on this. People just leave it to, let's say, the federal agents, but they don't do anything about it either. The cops, nobody actually really takes anything. Even a lot of cybersecurity companies, they're not really taking any action. They try a little bit, but they don't really do anything based off the thousands of dollars people have lost. And there's a certain amount of red flags that you're able to see based off of just looking at the scam, which we will be talking about. Before I even get into more details of cybersecurity or even the internet, which we will be talking about next, I want to mention that here at StriveX, we actually have articles. We're not just based off of a podcast. We actually have articles and blogs that we have written that actually talk about different internet, cybersecurity, the way technology is moving, because technology is such a vast field and we can't actually cover a lot in the podcast. So we try to cover as much as we can, but anything that you guys are interested in, go look at our articles. You guys can see if you guys are interested, maybe you can guys go check it out, because that is something that can really trigger some curiosity for a lot of people, and it also spreads awareness for cybersecurity. Enough with the actual cybersecurity of how the viruses have increased over time. I feel like we can't really end anything without talking about one of the most important factors of StriveX, but also the most important factors of our timeline as a whole, the internet. It is everlasting and growing the more time goes on, and it is so fascinating on how it has expanded without a doubt. We understand the internet as, let's say, a search engine or the Wi-Fi that you're able to search something up. Like, it's very user-friendly, but the internet has so many new features. There's so many innovations that have actually happened that it's honestly so fascinating on how much it's moved. So many new technologies, so many new companies. Just think about the technological advancements on the internet platform itself. Think about it. All of these social media companies, YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, and even TikTok now coming in like a storm. It's clear that with technology, it has completely shaped the way humanity has become. Now, we are using, in fact, there was once a time where we could never even imagine that technology and the internet would actually take a huge toll on our lives. And now for some people, it's, in fact, a lot of people, it's their main source of income nowadays. Their families are surviving because of the internet. The internet has done so much to people. It's honestly, it's unfathomable about how much has changed. But I want to take a quick glance about the companies. Think of like Amazon. Amazon was once a bookstore, and now it's one of the biggest e-commerce companies on the internet. It's honestly fascinating how much that has changed, and it is one of the largest companies in the world. I mean, that's solely based off of the internet. I mean, obviously the internet comes with its downsides. It has a lot of scams, a lot of viruses, it has a lot of vulnerabilities for people, and that's something that we got to live with, because the benefits of social media and the benefits of the internet have definitely outweighed the harms. But there are a lot of aspects of the internet and a lot of aspects about like AI and machine learning that's going on right now. But we're not going to discuss everything in this podcast. Our goals of this podcast is to give a little introductory about how the internet has moved, which we've kind of made it quite clear, but also what StriveX is doing to truly advocate about the internet and try to show that though there is a positive side, we want to acknowledge the negatives too and try to show some awareness that you, the people, are able to stay aware and safe on the internet.
Following up on that, the internet is a very vast place, and with that there's been new inventions which in probably people from 100 years ago I've never thought would actually come to life. So basically we have the Metaverse now, which is essentially a virtual reality type feature where you can essentially embrace yourself in this whole new world and interact with people in the Metaverse. It's essentially like you can meet your friends without meeting your friends in real life. You can meet them online, but you can do similar stuff like you would in real life. Like you guys could go to like other rooms, you could like go bowling in the Metaverse, I guess. You guys could literally sit down in like a boardroom and have a chat. That's how deep the Metaverse has gotten. And essentially, a lot of people call this as a threat to society. Will this actually ruin our society and everyone will just stay home and there will be no social gatherings anymore? Will people just forget about exercise and will everyone just like sit in their rooms and not actually care about meeting their friends because they can just meet them online? So a lot of people think of this as a dystopian society, and of course there is not a lot of truth or fact to this because we don't know the answers. The Metaverse is still very new and still very developing, which is why StriveX is here to essentially inform you on the Metaverse and essentially play devil's advocate, which we will talk about the negatives and the positives of the Metaverse, and maybe we may sway your decision one way or another in the end. We hope to be as unbiased as possible with our reviews, so essentially in our articles we don't want to talk more about one opinion than the other, and we want to have a more neutral playing field so you get to understand both sides and why each side may have a different argument to why, say, the Metaverse is good or why the Metaverse is bad, or heck, even NFTs, for example. The court of public opinion is essentially saying that NFTs are bad for the environment and they have no use whatsoever, but some people may think otherwise. So we want to talk a lot about why people may think NFTs are good and why people may think NFTs are bad, and we want to help you make the decision of why NFTs are good or bad. So we want to inform you on the ever-changing world we live in and all about internet. If there's anything that is like a whole new innovation that's coming out, if say a blog got exposed for like some like fraud or something, we want to talk about everything that's going on in the world in tech. So that can be the good things, the bad things, the new innovations, heck, anything that happens on Wall Street, we can talk about that. So we just want to inform the public on the large internet in general, and we hope to build this new market up from the ground, and we want to inform people why they might want to actually sit down and read our articles, why they may think this is beneficial to them, because every job right now essentially requires technology to function. And with the Industrial Revolution, there's always been its consequences, so every job now requires some sort of technology and AI, whether you like it or not. So it's good to be more well versed in that rather than not be in the know. And if you're not in the know, it's easy to fall behind and not realize that maybe your life could be made easier with the use of technology, and your job could even be made easier with the use of technology. Heck, coding, there is a website which will essentially code for you and give you tips on coding, and essentially any coding jobs with like software engineer or like anything in computer science field could be made way easier for you. So you can literally have a shortcut to life if you know a lot about technology, which is why we want to inform you about this new growing field of technology.
So, and that's the thing, even with technology, machine learning, artificial intelligence, we see the internet, cybersecurity, all of this has one thing in common. It has changed drastically, one for the good and one for the bad over time. And though this episode, we couldn't cover all of the in-depth and specifics of each one, we at least were able to cover the basic generalization about both of them and how they've changed over time. And in the next episode, we're going to be talking really in specifics. In the following episodes, we're going to be talking real in specifics about certain things such as augmented reality, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, or in certain cases, cybersecurity, of certain viruses that we want to spread awareness of, which we find are very important, certain scams, certain red flags. But before we talk about all of that, we have to close off this episode. But we want to thank you all once again for tuning in on this episode. We couldn't do it without your support. Your support is greatly appreciated for not only the organization, the nonprofit, but for us ourselves. And we're very thankful for you guys listening in. Next episode, we're hopefully going to be bringing in a guest speaker to speak about some of the major topics that are going around and possibly even speaking in specifics of the internet and cybersecurity. My name is Sharma, and that's my colleague, Arjun Verma. And thank you for listening to the first episode of the StriveX Podcast. Thank you.